There we go. We are live on Zoom. It always takes a while for us to be able to see it on our main pages. So just bear with us as we just do a check to make sure we are also on our live on our pages. So good morning to everyone. It has been an interesting 3 days of this course. We have the full moon. Today is the fall equinox. So it's going to be an interesting, I don't know if everyone's been feeling some earthquakes, or the earth is shifting and moving. It's talking to us. Also a reminder for us to think, are we prepared for any, moments that we need to be prepared for? So let me just check one more time because I don't see it on our Healers Roundtable page. Can we check, JB? I keep oh, there we are. Finally, let me just click on it. There we go. Okay, so let me just go ahead and put up the slides. Okay, good morning, Ryan. Thank you for joining in. We are just about to get started, so you joined in right on time. Okay, so again, today is the day 3 of Recharge, Reflect, and Reconnect. Today we're going to be discussing about Reconnect. And I'm just going to do a little quick review of the last 3 days. But before I do that, just going to introduce ourselves. We are Dual Dragons. My name is Rebecca, and my husband,
JB Atkins. We're neuromuscular therapists by trade. Our clients call us the muscle whisperers because we listen to what the stories are trapped within your muscles, causing those blockages or trigger points or tightness. And of course, self-healing facilitators, because we do the work not so much for you, but we guide you how to do it for yourself so that you have the techniques and awareness that you have the tools to do it yourself to maintain that balance that we bring to you every session. And of course, holistic wellness consultants. Yes, the term has been said to be broad, is because we really connect with people like CC and really expand throughout Healers Roundtables with other healers so that when we work with you and discover, hey, you're better off with another type of modality or another type of healer, we will actually give you a specific person or technique at least to look for versus go see the doctor, go see someone that can help you with this. We would love to really give you guidance to the best of our abilities, hence why we're consultants. Now, if you have any questions, you want to check out our website, there it is at duodragons.com, or you can email us at jbr@dualdragons.com, or you can text or call the number that you see on the screen, 949-942-1428. And of course, we are a mobile service. We're based out of Orange County, California. So if you're local to us, we do travel. We've been as far as Phoenix, Arizona. We have enough clientele to kind of justify the travels from Bakersfield down to San Diego. We're willing to be mobile. We'll see if we can make sense or coordinate it with something with another event that we have in that area. So it started with day 3.
Yeah, so day 3. So just a quick review. Monday was all about our harvest full moon. And we talked about how to recharge your crystals, how to make moon water. I suggested, put them in mason jars so you could, close it up, but, so you don't let any bugs or dust get in. And I used the example, like we live right next to Disneyland. So when the fireworks go off, they leave a lot of dust. So I have to make sure to have it closed, but at least it's glass. So then that way the moonlight could really shine in the water and receive that energy. And I posted 2 pictures on our page of the moon that night. It was just so beautiful, like the rays. It was very impressive. And so, of course, take a bath, Epsom salt baths with any essential oils that might help you. Shower. You could do, if you don't have a bathtub, you could still do an Epsom salt scrub with any essential oil and then just shower and just Visualize yourself just releasing anything that does not serve you anymore. And then give thanks. Gratitude takes you a long way. And while you're taking a moonlight walk, give thanks, give gratitude. Thank you for the house that I'm, living in, for the food on the table. Start giving thanks for any little thing, and you'll see how that really changes your mindset for a more positive mindset.
And then definitely, just to kind of expand on giving thanks, like some of you, speaking for myself, I'm sure some of you had similar experience where you're shut off emotionally or just suppress your emotions. Start with something basic with the breath. Oh, I was able to clean up my room. Breathe into it. Oh, I could walk. Breathe into it. So you can start as something as simply as something physical. And then as you open up and heal or balance yourself to be open to emotions, then you may be, because even to myself at this day, I am starting to get gratitude, but I can't describe the feeling. I just know when I am in that vibration or that energy. For the most part, I go to a deep breath. For serving today, and this is my way of giving thanks to myself that I'm able to contribute or achieve something.
And then the next one is journaling. There's something very meditative, because we talk about meditation, to meditate, and a lot of people say it's hard for them to meditate. Even journaling, even breathing is a form of meditating. When you tune into nature and ground yourself, and you just like sit next to a tree, that could be a form of meditation. Meditation isn't really just sitting in silence. When I journal, that's my form of meditation. And as I'm writing, I kind of just really go into my thoughts. And a lot of people have been surprised. We've heard this yesterday from Debbie, that when her daughter really got into prayer, she actually heard a response. And I've done that, when I'm journaling and I'm just really deep in my thoughts and asking the questions, I will get answers sometimes when you're able to just sit in that space. It's not really about sitting in silence. It's sitting in that space and being open enough to just receive, and that's what it really is about, being able to receive. And so now that's the review for Monday. And then yesterday we talked about reflecting, and these are some questions I asked, and I just read them for people to just kind of like think about and maybe want to journal about this, but I'm just going to go ahead and read them one more time. So reflecting, tune into your awareness. Being aware of yourself it's a very good practice, and we don't do it. We're so much aware about our exterior. We're aware about our neighbors. We're aware about work. We're aware. But when it comes to being aware about ourselves, we're not that aware. So this is a good practice to really focus and tune into yourself. So when something happens, what is your experience of your awareness? What do you notice? What caught your attention in this moment? What feelings are involved? What beliefs, memories, ideas, thoughts? That one's really important, because sometimes if we could just take time and think, why did I react that way? What was the trigger? What is the belief that was installed on me? Is that really my belief, or is it just a belief that was handed down from my parents? Is it generational trauma that's just been handed down to me for me to react that way? Is it really my trauma to kind of continue carrying on, or can I let it go? So those are very important questions to just become more aware of what really is yours and what isn't. And then the next one, follow the flow of your knowing. What do you know from your awareness? What path does your knowing take? What experience follows? Where do your thoughts go, JB? What is happening in your body? So that's the flow. Again, getting into that flow. What are you feeling? Where are your thoughts going? What's happening in your body? When you get angry, where do you feel it exactly? Because it'll be interesting when you find out, like some people feel anger in their shoulder. Other people will feel it on their knee. Some people will feel it on their neck. Some people will feel it in their head. It's very interesting where we carry certain emotions. And that's why we are the muscle whisperers, because we'll read that. Like, why is there sadness in this muscle? Why is there anger? Why is there resistance? And then ponder, consider, meditatively reflect. So what do I learn? So what are you learning from it? What do I resist? What captures my attention? What is missing? Where does this take me? What is the meaning I draw? And what are the gifts in this moment? And that's one thing I shared yesterday. It doesn't matter how positive or how dark the moment is, there's gifts within each of them. There's a gift when it's positive, and there's a gift even when it's dark. A dark moment, you get a gift. And I always say they go together like a coin. And I use that a lot with clients when they're stuck on just viewing one side of the coin. Okay, let's flip the coin. What's on the other side? You know, that the light and the dark, the what they call the shadow, and when we walk, you always see your shadow, what's in the shadow and what's present with you at the moment. That's a good way to reflect. What's in my shadow? Maybe you could draw it and just put things that are in your shadow that you're not aware of, and then put things in your body that you are aware of, and then work with that. It's a really good exercise.
And another kind of example to expand on that is, that's why the Healer Roundtable kind of manifests through this time, was really to combine with, connect and contribute, collaborate with other healers. Like she mentioned the example of anger. Through one of the sessions or presentations from another healer, a very powerful question emerged. For when you feel angry, ask yourself, what's the block positive desire? Which how Rebecca interpreted is the other side of the coin. So whether we use the other side of the coin or the question, what's the block positive desire, some words will resonate with you and others won't. And hence why we suggest that you consider expanding on listening to others, whether it's a presentation or what there's a class, so that they can show you their interpretation or reflection of yourself to kind of help so you can look within. The other suggestion, if they tell you this is how it has to be, consider avoiding them due to no one knows it better than you. And all we could do from people on the outside in is be a reflection to something to work internally for yourself, hence self-healing facilitators. And a lot of fellow healers that we collaborate with, they align similar, whether they use the term or not, with self-healing facilitators in their own way, because they know they're not going to fix it for you. I'm not going to fix it for you, because it's your lesson. It's your experience that you need to understand. And if someone, say, takes away the pain from you, that's almost enabling you to delay your lesson, which then it makes it harder for you to really grow or balance yourself, whether it's mentally, whether it's emotionally, whether it's spiritually.
And it's easier to come back in full force too. I've experienced that when people try to take away my pain, or then it comes back in full force and it's not fun. And so next one, we're gonna now talk about reconnecting. So reconnecting, I see our life as little pieces of a puzzle. And it's interesting because sometimes we complete the puzzle and guess what? There's a new one. It's never ending work when we're throughout our lifetime. It's never ending work. Like they always say, you don't ever stop learning. You don't ever stop going to school. There's so many things that you learn throughout your life that at that moment you need it. Some people will say, oh, I wish I would have learned this back then. But back then it wasn't your moment. It wasn't time yet. So it's a good thing to remind yourself that even though you see some missing pieces of your puzzle, Don't get discouraged. Don't get frustrated. It will come when it's time, when you're ready for it, when you're open to it.
And for those who don't feel like connecting with the work, I got to do more work, consider this. Make it part of your lifestyle. So what happens if you, say, take a shower every day, your hygiene's pretty well, or you brush your teeth, or you eat a much healthier meal than some of the processed foods that are out there. Again, we're not telling you what to choose. Just consider what would benefit me to reconnect with myself to improve my lifestyle. A lifestyle that may be reflecting every day or walking. We're just giving you suggestions. It's up to you to choose what's best for you in those moments.
So this is what I wrote for today, fall equinox. And I love this picture because it shows the dark side of our world when it's night, and then the light side of our world when there's sunlight. And we always are in both moments all the time, everyone. You know, during the night, even though we sleep, in our night is our time to process. In darkness, we process, we dream, we experience certain things even though we're asleep. You know, we're still processing. And then during the day, we're doing. Night, we're processing. And so it's really interesting. And so I saw this little passage, and I thought it was good. At this time, both day and night are equal lengths, serving as a reminder to embrace both the harmony and polarity of life by transmuting darkness into light and reflecting our own potent ability to balance and optimize these energies both within and without. I thought that was a great passage when I came across it. It just really talks about what we're talking about today. So with that, I'm just gonna go ahead and introduce our guest speakers, CC Converse, CPCC, Divine Spiritual Guidance, Psychic Intuitive Consultant, Certified Coach, Kabbalah teacher, and there's her number if you're interested in her services, and reaching out to her is 415-885-9700. So
Cece,
with that, I'm just gonna stop share.
Yeah. Cece, would you expand what CPCC means?
Absolutely, I would love to. It stands for Certified Professional Coactive Coach. And that's the designation you receive when you complete the programs with it's called the Coactive Training Institute. So it used to be called the Coaches Training Institute, and they changed the name to bring it more into relevance. It's one of the oldest coach training schools in the United States. And they and Coach U began a long time ago. So, and I've been certified for about 20 years now. So, and I work with a lot of different people on a lot of different subjects, but mostly on relationships these days.
Excellent. So. And speaking about relationship, and then obviously speaking about Reconnect, can you kind of share your story on some of your journey of how you reconnect and maybe some of how your tools or techniques evolve? And do you usually use the same thing, or depending in the moment, do you find maybe a presentation or conversation with someone, let me try that way, and it kind of helps you rebalance or reconnect with yourself?
Yeah, so as you know, I've probably shared this story before, but I have a very deep spiritual practice, and ever since I was a kid, I remember connecting with nature and the animals and the plants and then of course the fairies and the elves and all the other nature spirits. And as I got older, I sort of put it away for school and for getting married and business and jobs and such. And in 1990, I had a back injury, and one day I got up and I could not walk at all. And from that point on, for probably about 10, 11 months, I really couldn't walk. And it would take me, 20 minutes to get from one end of the room to the other if I was going to try and do it myself. And all of my guides and my beings that I had worked with and seen when I was a youngster all came back and said, you can't, you just can't ignore us any longer, and I'm like, okay, I get it. And I mean, that was like a real awakening for me. And once I was able to get up and out and around, I started reconnecting with nature, going for walks, communing with the animals, and meditating, and really being with my guides and the angels and those that I work with. And it's every time as we get busy and we get that amnesia, right? We forget, oh yeah, my guides, oh yeah, the angels, oh yeah. And it something occurs that like, it reminds me to come right back. And I have to exercise my, my tools and skills to do that. So
Definitely. You mentioned something that really brought to me this next question. Just because you become aware of your techniques or your gifts, do you really say, shut down, I'm going to stop being a CPA, or I'm going to stop being a real estate agent, or I'm going to stop being this? Or how did you blend it until you found it was time for you maybe to transition? We're not telling everyone you have to go to be a spiritual healer or follow your gifts, but there's ways to blend it in. And if you really look around, I noticed like really successful people, they knew how to blend it and stick with modeling, or stick with being a professional football player, or stick with it. Was just very beautiful. Now that I shifted my perspective, can you kind of elaborate from your experience how you reconnected and not feel like you have to disconnect to be all spiritual or to do what you do now?
Yeah. Well, for me, it was a process. Accepting that spiritual nature, angelic place that I hold in my world, and the everyday world. And a long time ago, I learned statements like, be in the world, but not of the world, right? So if we involve ourselves in the everyday ins and outs and ups and downs and dramas and everything else, we tend to be pulled away from the spiritual in general. And yet if we can walk and go into the drama and go, what am I to learn here? Right? How am I feeling? Being really self-aware and emotionally aware, and familiarize yourself with emotional intelligence, because every one of our emotions is really saying, something's really wrong here, and I need time to step back and go, so why did I react that way? Right? Rebecca asked those beautiful questions yesterday, and really reflect on, who am I? What am I? Where am I going? What am I doing? And what's the big overarching picture? Is this going to serve me today, tomorrow, and in the future? Right? The past is in the past. And yes, we have things that affect us today. Most of our triggers are past based, right? They're conversations we learned when we were children, or our teachers, or, most of the stuff is ingrained in us by the time we're between 8 and 12 years old. And then it's just a matter of sorting, and acting and practicing and playing and being and learning and getting smashed down, as most of us were when we were kids, at least, right? That's how we learned our lessons. So to bring that forward, in the more that I balance knowing that I'm a spiritual being and that's part of the work that I do, it informs everything. Like, for instance, I'll tell a story. When for 10 years, I was a computer trainer, in Silicon Valley, and I was traveling to all the businesses and everything. And some of the questions that people asked me, like, didn't come from my knowledge bank. My answers came from guidance, right? And then I could reference and give them the reference. Like, here's the book that it is in. Here's where you can get that information from this company, so that they could reference it themselves. But it wasn't until that guidance came through. It was almost like a channeling, like snippet, right? So, and when I was working on computers, and I was really hyper focused, and I was looking at all the circuitry and where everything was plugged in and how it all worked. And it was guidance that said, try this, try that, and guided me through the whole process. But that hyper focus, like, it's it being in the flow, right? So it became like it was part of me. It is part of me. And I can't separate it like, I can't, here's a pen, I can't put it down. Okay, now I don't have a pen, right? It's always with me. And this, self-acceptance and self-understanding and self-knowledge. And, that second statement is, know thyself, know your true nature, right? Know who you are as that big being driving the body.
Definitely. And as you develop, through time, you develop your beautiful skill and your gifts, and then blend it in with the reality of the world, being a tech trainer. How did you work on, as anyone of other people watching this, like the balance between the chatter of someone else's opinion that play like a broken record, or the aspect of your ego that usually are kind of self-sabotaging? How did you disconnect from that unhealthy aspect so you could reconnect with your higher self and your gifts, as well as be present for your clients or your students?
So it took a lot of training and self-discipline. That's the first thing. And then to understand that the random thoughts that come in and out of your mind really do not belong to you, right? We identify with this being, this body, these thoughts, these places in ourselves that we think are our own, like the random thought of blah blah blah, and you're going, I'm not even connected to that. That doesn't mean anything to me. What's that? It really doesn't belong to you. It's sort of like this thing floating around, and it hits your thought wave, and it just connects to you for just a moment. Now it's up to you what you do with it. Totally up to you. That's where our self-responsibility comes in, and says, am I going to run with this thought, or am I going to go throw it away, right? And just to give you an example, and these thoughts, they come from all sorts of different places, right? Yet they're unseen. We don't know they're coming. We can't hear them, but they show up. So, so knowing what is your thought, right? Like when you focus on, like doing this presentation, right? Everyone is prepared with something, correct? And so that's hyper focus, and those are my thoughts, and those are my feelings. Yet the random stuff that comes in, like I can't remember how many billions of bits of information we're bombarded with every minute. It's amazing. And our system, right, our energy system is set up to sort those things out. Now the ego, let's talk about the ego, because JB asked just a moment ago. So the ego is like our onboard operating system, if you will. You can use the computer analogy. It knows when the monitor's on, when the monitor's off, right? When it's got to release the data, when it's got to bring the data in, because you're giving the commands, right? So our body is sort of running that, and the ego answers to the body. I'm hungry, right? I need water, right? I need sleep. So it tells the body what it needs to do without us going, oh, I have to go do this, right? Okay, body, pump the heart, right? All of this is part of the synergism of your body. So, and then there's the ego that comes in that says, I'm protecting you, right? So when we get hurt, like when we got hurt when we were a little kid, maybe we were the last chosen, which was me, last chosen for the baseball team or the basketball team, right? I was a great forward, but I was a terrible guard. So so when it comes to that, it's like, I'm hurt. They don't want me. They don't think I can do good. And so that becomes ingrained in ourselves, and the ego goes, I'm protecting you from getting hurt, right? So that's its job. So check, like when you get triggered, check in and say, so ego, what are you protecting me around? Right? Maybe you played the piano one day and somebody was sitting in the audience going, and you focused on that audience person that was doing that. You're going, I'm never going to play piano again. Right? You sit down at a piano and you go, oh, no, I can't do this. Right? That's the ego going, I'm protecting you from getting hurt. So
is it always right? Not always, huh?
Well, it's in its own thing. It's protecting you from being hurt again. Yet as an adult, we are more in charge than we were when we were kids. So as an adult, we have to go, okay, ego, I don't see any danger here. And I know that I love to play piano. So I'm going to sit down and play piano. Right?
Yeah.
Is just to be open. I love to sing, and I sing at home. Right? But when I sing, it evokes such emotion in me.
Yes.
Right? When I hear opera, or when I hear a really great put together tune, it's like I just sit there. I'm like, oh, it's like it's heaven. It could be rock and roll. It could be any genre. When it's really put together, it's like it's magic. So I'm getting chills right now just talking about it, because music is such, it's like our entrance, it's like home for many people. So intrinsically.
And so we've been really talking, you've been sharing about how doing the work to find, tune in, find that true self. And let's talk about when you've done the work. When you're releasing, let's say you've released all these old beliefs that were, embedded in ours. And now the question is, I hear this a lot because I've done the work, and I also ask myself, who am I now without all of this?
Yeah.
And how do we reconnect to who you really are? And that's where a lot of people get lost, because they were so used to playing one role under those beliefs. And when they finally release them, and then they look in the mirror and they're like, wait, who am I? So how do we reconnect with who you really are?
That's such a good question, and such a large answer.
I know.
But, so, and let me just first off say, it's totally individual how you go about doing it, right? Just like anything else, our learning comes from our active participation in the conversation, or in the activity, or in the meditation, right? In anything. So, and the ego, right? Here's the other piece that I'll add on to the previous question. The ego doesn't want to let go, because it doesn't want any part of it to die, right? Yes. However, when we have those ahas, like, oh my gosh, I really am fill in the blank, or I really want this, right? Because that when your desires come up, it's really your soul talking to you, going, this is part of what you came here to do, right? And getting in touch with that. And so, and sometimes for us to step into that, something else has to die, right? Part of that ego piece, right? Not us physically, but that's that the ego goes, I don't want to die, right? So, so your question is how to connect with the new.
The new, yeah.
The new piece, yeah. So Rebecca, can you remember a time when that happened with you? And what was the new you wanted to step in?
It was realizing that I didn't have to stay in pain as an empath to be with the clients because I would stay in that pain, as an empath, and then I became, oh, this is who I am as a healer. As an empath, I feel their pain and I kind of keep the pain. But then when you come to that realization, we're like, wait a minute, I don't need to keep the pain. There's no need for me it doesn't serve me in any way. And when I was working on releasing it, it was a little fear set in, like, well, but who will I be without feeling that? Mm-hmm. So I found that really interesting that question came up in my thought process, like, wait a minute, what do you mean, who will I be? I already know who I am, but it was still there. It was, and like you said, I think it was part of that ego saying, I don't want to die.
Right. And so the next question to ask yourself is like, who will I be? Or what will I be without that? Right? It's sort of like, so knowing what you didn't want or what you released, right, gives you insight into what you do want.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So of course I do want to be an empath and be at peace with my body, because I'm not serving anyone by staying in that pain with them.
Yeah.
So then it was up to me to speak my truth. I'm enabling them by staying in that pain with them.
Wow, that's powerful.
And just recognizing that truth, like I need to speak my truth and speak their truth and work with that and realize that in a way I was also being enabling to them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Just an example to kind of add to the conversation. Like with one of our many other healers, she brought the metaphor of our ego is like a dog. So if the ego is a bad trained dog, obviously you're going to be seen through that. It's like ego is just the way you see the world. So if you train your ego well, because you can't live without it, it'll serve you better. But then that perception or those voices of not good enough, or I'm going to lose, or I'm going to die, those are some of those chatter that you just got to trust and just connect with yourself, not connect with what I say or Cece says or Rebecca says or any of our other beautiful healers. But what we're sharing is to kind of show you the beauty of what could come from connecting with yourself and what you can manifest. And a couple of simple examples would be previous relationship. I guess I happen to be a better partner than the person's past relationship. All her friends were supportive because it was like the drama club. But now she doesn't have nothing to complain about the way our relationship was going. One, they hated me and they dropped her. They stopped being her friend. They cut her off. It's like, that makes no sense. What kind of friendships was that? So sometimes, and like the ego, this is the reason why I'm sharing it, is like, oh my God, I lost a piece of me. Who am I now? I lost my best friends for X amount of years. They just left because I don't have this pain or this drama to really share with them anymore. And unfortunately, a blessing in disguise, it wasn't really a healthy relationship for us to continue, because she started living out of fear of, I guess, losing me. And so she'll do and said anything to try to keep me around, which wasn't the best. It just kind of went from a healthy relationship to a toxic relationship. And that could play out in your finances, that could play out in family, that could play out in your activity of life. Is just finding the balance for you, not so much what your environment is. And that's what this presentation is about, is reconnecting to yourself, not reconnecting to what's around you. Yes, gifts can kind of connect you to what's going on. Like Cece, she was able to connect with the computers and get the information and the wisdom to pass on to the students, so the students could be a better technician or better whatever position they are. And that's a good example of the balance. Recently, I was offered one of kind of like to help a friend in his moving business. I probably could have generated a couple $100 for a full 6 to 12 hours of work. Sometimes it goes longer than that. But I was listening, reconnecting to myself to prepare, I think actually it was just last week. And randomly we had lunch with a friend, and then boom, it generated a random gift of 10 times as much. If I force myself to physically do the work versus align myself and give myself that time to reflect and recharge and reconnect.
Yeah, that's fabulous. That's fabulous.
And now we want to open up the questioning. If anyone has a question for Cece.
If you want to unmute yourself, if you don't feel comfortable, go ahead and type it in the chat. I'll be looking on Facebook. If anyone asks a question there, I'll be doing my best to answer it if it pops up in time. Sometimes technology doesn't notify us.
And so while they're asking questions, I'll just say that some tools that like deep meditation will help you really connect to yourself. And if you give yourself, start out with 10 to 15 minutes every day, and then build up to like 30 minutes. Sometimes you'll find yourself meditating for 45 minutes to an hour and you didn't even realize it. It's an amazing, even if you tend to fall into a sleep state that you think you're in a sleep state, you are still connected to that meditative state. because you will come up and back into that eyes closed, deep breathing state and come out of it with information. Maybe not in that moment, but it will show up. It's, you know, it's so individual.
Vera, do you have a wonderful question for Cece? Or
Hi, Vera.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, Cece. So nice to see you, as always.
Nice to see you too, dear.
Thanks. I've got a question for you that centers around, first I want to say how funny it is that you guys are talking about the ego and this stuff, because mine totally tried to sabotage me the other day. And so I guess my question is around distinguishing. Sometimes I just know things. Sometimes I daydream things. And then sometimes my ego makes things up. Actually, maybe the daydreams and the ego might be linked. And I haven't quite figured out how to distinguish them yet. I was wondering if you can give any tips there.
Well, a lot of times, you know, again, the ego is there to keep you safe, right? And a lot of our like, well, I'll never do that, or I never wanted to have that in my life, are part of ego, and they're also part of decisions we've made along the way. But your soul, when it speaks to you as a part of the, like, I have a dream, I have these dreams, right? I want to be around animals and nature and water and blue sky forever, and, you know, the beach, and, you know, or whatever it is for you. Or you really want to be working with people, and you know that you came in and you've developed yourself to be that in the desire of being a helper or a healing facilitator or an accountant. You love numbers, right? So those are generalities. So as far as specifics go, when it's so subtle, because your soul is what it's like a whole body type of a, you know, and really a heart speak, a full body speak. You might get chills, or, you know, that deep, you know, like, oh yeah, my gut's telling me, right? So that's basically, at least that's how they show up for me and many others that I know. Rebecca and JB, you know, they may have something different to add with that for themselves. And I'll ask, you know, Vera, when you know something really solidly, do you have a body feeling, right? Do you have, you know, chills? What is it that shows up for you?
I think that I need to check in with it more the next time it's happening. I know that because now it's mostly been hindsight, where I say, oh, that thing that I was imagining, that was actually real. That was me knowing it, not me just daydreaming about it. And I've noticed when I look back, that does feel pretty lighter. But now I really want to check in and see if it's my whole body, and maybe I can distinguish, like, is that energy just up here in my head, or is it down lower?
Yeah. And the other thing that you can do, because oftentimes, and I'm, you know, the daydream, I'm just remembering back when I would be, you know, daydreaming, you know, you're like, you know, looking out the window, whatever however you do it. But I would experience myself crafting how it was going to look, not actively, but in that connection of both intuition and thinking. And it's hard to discern what was what, right? And as you go along, I always suggest, like, if you have a feeling or an intuition or a daydream, write it down in your journal, because quicker than anything, we will forget what we dreamt about or intuited. And then when something happens, you get that feeling like, oh my gosh, I knew that. You can go back in your journal and go, aha. So you're sort of, you know, edifying yourself in that respect, to understand that, oh yeah, these are things that's what I did, you know, when off and on. I had notebook after notebook about things that I meditated on or received, or, and that had come to fruition. And I just put a little check mark by them when they did. So, and then other people will reflect back to you. Remember when you told me this? Well, it came true, right? Or you were right, or or you were wrong for that matter, because that happens too. So
that's a great idea, and I think it'll help me too to check in with the feelings because I'm writing it down. I can be like, okay, what's happening in my body right now, and I'll come back to it.
Especially for an empath.
Yeah.
Right. I get a pain in my hip. That means something because every time that happened, this happened. Right. Every time that happened, I felt this. Right. That happens too.
Yeah.
I've been getting that a lot. To just share an experience, JB has always told me, oh, it's time for you to retire from Massage Heights and just focus on our business. And there was a part of me that I was like, no, not yet. No, not yet. No, not yet. But what was interesting, the more I would say no, not yet, as I would go to work, like you said, that's why I remember when you said the hip, my right hip would start hurting and it would start hurting more. And every time I go to work now, I'm in pain on my right hip. And my right hip is like screaming at me now. I'm like, okay, I got the message. It's time to let go of the but it was interesting finally being aware. And then when I wasn't even listening to that, well, guess what? Now my guides was sending the clients that I see there, and they're like, hey, aren't you like planning to retire soon? Because I'm not planning to renew my membership and I just want to see you now privately. So then they started sending the messages through my clients like, hello, it's time to retire from that job. And so like what Cece was saying, you'll get these little subtle, I want to call it like, how when you're walking down the street, you can feel this beautiful breeze. And then all of a sudden this one strong breeze will come and it's going to push you. And you're going to be like, oh, like, where did that come from? And that's what it feels like to me. It feels like this strong push all of a sudden, and you're like, whoa. Like, it's like trying to tell you like, hey, I'm trying to tell you something. And it comes in daydreams too. I remember when I was young, I would journal a lot. And at that time I was going to college, and I would journal each semester. What I have accomplished, what I still needed to do, what happened to me during that semester, what did I experience, what did I learn? And I would write it all down, and I would do like this little checklist, like, oh, I did this, I did this, I did that. And then I would just sit with it and say, did I really accomplish everything, or is there still something that I need to get done? And as I would sit and just daydream, is when I would hear a voice like, wait, you met so-and-so and you didn't do anything about it. And I'm like, and that's what it was talking about my first husband. Like, hey, you met this guy and you need to do something about it. So even though JB is my third husband, I still don't find it a coincidence for me to be married 3 times, because I was meant to be married 3 times. That's how I look at it now. I never look at it like I wasted time or I chose wrong. Everything happens for a reason. And I learned something from the first marriage. I learned something from the second marriage. The second marriage, like JB put it the perfect way. What did you say? My first marriage was just for me to kind of like a test run. And then my second marriage, I got Luna out of it. And then my third marriage is when I finally found my soulmate. It was just, and it's a beautiful story. As some people would say, like, oh my God, what was I thinking? It's still a beautiful story no matter what. Once I connect those pieces of the puzzle, they connect perfectly. It was meant to happen that way.
Oftentimes in relationships like that, that's what happens. Is like we connect with the right person or the soulmate when they've learned their lessons and we've learned our lessons, and we're ready now to have that deep relationship that is meant for us. That's a
just
gift.
Just to share like my knowing of when my ego versus a knowing from higher. It's been a while. to kind of develop this, but for me, when I know it for sure and it sounds really loud and strong, that's when I know it's from my head and my ego. But if it's gentle and I don't know why I know, or it's almost like I'm in the clouds. So that's my knowing of higher wisdom from the beyonds versus my ego, because then it comes off with the vibration of either cocky or bubbly gay. It was just this energy that was really unique to people when I get the feedback from them.
Yeah.
That's now I know, okay, right. Thank you, ego. But your position is just to observe the world. My mind is meant to analyze it. My soul is meant to guide me. And then my emotions allows me the charge to be aware. And then I choose. So that it's been an interesting couple of weeks that now I took charge. I'm not letting the ego run autopilot anymore. And that's how let me not take this job to help my friends. And hey, we're gonna have lunch. Okay. Hey, I got a gift for you. Okay. To like, wow, okay. It's very fascinating how that plays out. So as you find your sign, for me is like, I know mentally and it makes sense. And I could kind of find all the logical reasons. That's the ego kind of running the show. So then that's my telling. So if you can kind of figure out that, the journaling, I was going to add to like CC, it makes sense. Write it down, but if you don't remember, that's most likely your higher intuition. If you write it down, then you remember faster, and it's like, yeah, we wrote that down. That could potentially, again, I'm not you, and I can't choose for you. I can't feel for you. Only you can do that for you. So start finding those little subtle signs. And then now I'm open, more emotional. Like you can't even ask Rebecca before I got on. I was throwing a little hissy fit. It's like, why am I so emotional? Is this what they mean by women having hormones that are imbalanced? Like she's like laughing up a storm.
I'm on with the popcorn. I'm enjoying this moment. I'm like, ooh, I pushed the button finally.
And I'm not sure if you listened to the other days, Vera, but something that came to my awareness this past week while working on a client, they've said, and they've studied and researched that a cat's vibration is very healing. But you ever notice a human laugh and supposedly how that's healthy? That's the human version of vibrating, that healthy vibration. So maybe consider that as you do the meditation, like, can I laugh about this? Or is this something I got to be serious about? So find ways to kind of calibrate or find your knowing of the ego and your higher self. Because sometimes I find myself in conversation with people, wait, do you have a degree in some rocket science, or do you have a degree in, it's like, no. And that's when I know that I'm just flowing. And when I'm flowing, I'm gathering the information that helps intrigue. I have a couple friends that are very like engineer wise, but they're so distracted because they're so creative. So when I have that conversation with them, I go, all right, we're going to have something called a mind up. Put all your projects there, and boom, he got a job. Boom, he found an investor. So things are starting to progress for him because I am choosing to be a friend and a contribution to kind of help him clear his mental capacity. Focus on his higher knowing with all this beautiful technology that would hopefully come to fruition. Right now, it's just ideas on paper.
If I could also add to all of this is like with all of these different ways that we're expressing the way that it works for us, is that grounding is connected to Mother Earth. It facilitates the opening of all of that. And some believe that, I have to disconnect from Earth so I can be up in the ethers to get that information. And what I've been sharing with people is that if you are grounded, if you can ground to Mother Earth, just send your cord to Mother Earth, then you can go out as far as you want and have your crown open as far as you want, but you remain in the center of the connection between spirit and earth, which is who we are as beings right now, manifested on this earth. And reconnecting to that piece of us that can inform us, and that is integrated with who we are as a human being and a spiritual being, that connection. So thank you.
I think someone recently told me something like that, where it made sense. They're like, and I don't think a lot of people are aware of this because it's been a long time ago, but back in the days in the banks, they used to have these pipes, and they would put in like the cash in this tube, and then they would suck it up and it would take it to where it had to go. Yes. So I think in a way that's what she was trying to explain to me, to stay grounded, but then whatever message I need to send, put it in that canister and put it in that pump that just takes it, and then it'll come back to me, but I have to stay present. So that it was interesting when she said that to me, like giving me that visual, like, oh, okay, I get it now. Like,
that's a great metaphor.
Yeah, but not a lot of people, like that doesn't exist anymore. So for our younger generation, when we talk about that, they're like, huh? It's like the dial phone. What?
Yep. It's kind of similar when you go through the bank, and they have those things in the bank still some places.
Yes.
And or the teller opens the drawer and it goes out to you, and you have to put your message in, right? And then you receive what you asked for.
Yeah, a lot of things have changed, but it's just all those old, like I always tell my daughter, because she always says, why did this teacher teach us it this way and you teach it different? I'm like, because I was taught differently, and it doesn't matter if she teaches it to you this way, it's still, they're both valid. Mine is basic, theirs is a little evolved, but it's still the same thing, And so it's just learning to, like you said, distinguish the difference. Sometimes both of them help. If you are able to embrace both of them, they will help you.
Yes.
So I notice it's the time, JB.
Yes, so if you want to wrap it up.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. We're going to stay a little bit longer if anyone chooses to join us via Zoom to ask any questions that they might have. The Zoom link is on the comments below. And then also don't forget tonight, if you live in California, Debbie, our presenter from yesterday, is going to have the fall equinox tonight at 6:30 at her Mermaid Cottage. And so I posted that on our page, that information, if you want to join us there. And then I think that's it. Oh, and also our Healers Roundtable 1-year anniversary is coming up on Friday, October 1st. Make sure to be part of that. We're going to have it online and in person, but it's going to be limited to 15 max in person, 15 max. Online, we are asking for a small donation. For online, it's $5. For in person, it's $10. And it's just really to be able to give something to whoever's going to be presenting that day. We're going to have several presenters just sharing a little healing tip. And also, we're just going to be talking about what got us to this journey. How did Healers Roundtable start? And how has the journey been so far? And what we've experienced and how much we've learned from it. So we're going to be sharing a little bit of that and just receiving messages that day that many of us might need for that day as a form of, even though we're celebrating, we will need something. I don't want to say need. I'm like trying to steer away from that word. Become aware. Become aware of what is meant to be aware to us for that day, And so with that, I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining in. Make sure to, if you watched the replay, to put #replay. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments and we'll get back to you. Thank you, everyone.
Happy anniversary.
Stay healthy and breathe intentionally.